it. Good morning, Malik. Good morning, Raymond.
Good morning.
All right, now Raymond, as always, saying good morning for the rest of us.
Yes.
And how are we doing this morning? Everything
good.
good? All right. Okay, we are running out of time. Let's go.
Now, let's start with the Daily Statesman. It's reporting this morning that citizen vigilante is competent to squeeze Ayaga, says court. And yes, that's our chairman's voice. NDC's Victor Smith nails Ofosu Ampofo. That's on the front page of the Daily Statesman too. Now, dam builders make steady progress. And these are the one village, one dam we're talking about in this particular case anyway.
That story of Ayarga is also on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. Ayarga thrown out, gets 200,000 bail. Ofosu Ampofo turns preacher. That's on the front page of the Daily Guide. NDC Wa Airport propaganda exposed. Famina boils over abandoned hospital project.
Now, the New Crusading Guide is reporting this morning, and Daniel, you knew about the political science department and the research work on the MP's performance.
Yes.
The Western Region MPP is summoning their MPs over this particular report. That's on the front page of the New Crusade Guide, with Tamaninoff MP exposed for fabricating Baumia's alleged tweet on no borrowing. Cancel bauxite mine project in Atiwa. This is a group called Rocha. They are warning government of their consequences.
The Chronicle newspaper has a Ayarga story here, but 301 village one dam awarded on contract. How Nigerian attempted to steal Mamubi child.
Now, the Finder is reporting this morning that network hitches unfold on day one of the limited voters registration exercise, and there's also one side, the good news on the other side is that in Kumasi the exercise took off smoothly.
The graphic business has Ghana Cote d'Ivoire cocoa agreement, prepare for resistance. That's economists advising fallback plan. World Bank supports Ghana with 1.3 billion credit facility. Back page of the graphic business. Gas prices to drop to sustain industries. That's Deputy Energy Minister assuring.
Now, the Ghanaian Times is reporting this morning that, of course, Mama Yaga story there. But since this has been reported 2 days concurrently, let me repeat it for the emphasis required. The Ministry of Health and Zoom Lion are embarking on a nationwide mosquito control program. That's on the front page. There's also one about 125 police officers undergoing anti-terrorism and kidnapping drills, and 40 drivers have been arrested on the motorway for various traffic offenses. And you see big cars with big people in it committing small-minded kind of offense. Yes, small-minded kind of offense, and they clearly know that the state has a problem.
You know why I'm concerned about that particular story. Yesterday, I tried crossing the streets right here in front of Joy.
Yeah,
and there's a zebra crossing there.
Yeah,
and you see very grown men, stately looking men in
respectable
nice
looking,
and you are standing on the zebra crossing.
They disregard it all.
It's as if
time.
no one has seen.
I have a clue. There's a reason why I know a friend that crosses the street with all the time.
They disregard it without. Let's do the last paper on the front page. Let's do the last paper on the front page. Front page is Daily Graphic has EC projects 700,000 new voters. Amidi can prosecute you. That's a high court telling Ayarga. Professor Dateba to commence Unibank arbitration tomorrow. Back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Death of bridegroom throws Asin Juasu into state of shock. NADMO earmarks safe places for Weja residents following spillage of dam.
Let's begin with this story that has me a bit worried. SWAT has gunned down 2 people for attacking the police.
Yes, and according to the report from Lydia Darlington from WA, the 2 are Nigerians. They're believed to be in their mid-40s. And of course, this SWAT team, which we call the Special Weapon and Tactics Unit of the Upper West Regional Police Command, decide, at a specific area called Wapani. It's very much a suburb of
Wapani.
Wapani.
That
sounds more groovy than what you
said. I thought I was really original. Okay, when they attacked the police in an attempt to resist arrest. So the gentlemen, we are told, attacked the police. Not these SWAT officers, but other police officers. But the SWAT officers were on hand to come and provide the required assistance in this particular case. According to police PR for the region, they received a report that the 2 were demolishing a building which did not belong to them for no apparent reason. To be clear, the 2 purported Nigerians were demolishing a building which in no way belonged to them in an area that the people were worried about. And again, the people they were using to demolish the building had guns. They were properly, not small guns, big guns. So the people in the area was very afraid. They were very afraid. They actually asked for police to come in. The first of the police officers that came in, they could not match the kind of guns and the strength of the people who were doing the demolition. So they had to call in for help. That's when the SWAT team actually came in. Indeed, they were later on confronted by a woman, 82-year-old woman, who owned the building. And this particular incident, they say, but the Nigerians and their demolition team assaulted, according to the report, and threatened to kill the woman and her son. And when they came to the woman's rescue in this particular case, so the men were on the ground to make sure that they protect not only people but also sure that properties were demolished the way they ought to be done. But the situation got out of hand. The report still insists that the Nigerians and their demolition team had guns. They could have discharged the guns if the SWAT team did not effectively do their work.
Did they discharge the guns as a report?
There's no part in this report or any of the other reports I've heard so far. This suggested that the people, actually discharged the gun. In fact, they were said to have attacked the police instead of the guns with daggers, jackknives, and
mattocks.
Yeah, and mattocks too. Yes, when they fired the warning shot first. So that is what happened. We hope that this is not feeding into the current consistent, and we need to put this in proper check. Yesterday, the Chronicle put out a story that had a very terrible banner headline talking about Nigerians are at it again and all of that. And just when we thought that we have improved our integrationist quest so well and so much, and that we know that you cannot just victimize a grouping, extend it to virtually every Nigerian, and make it look like every camp ought to be quoted in that particular aid. Of course, we are not dismissing that. There are specific incidents where non-Ghanaians have actually done things that are unlawful, that sometimes are repugnant and ought not to be condoned at all. But we cannot, especially mindful of our special history, even in the sub-region. The closest grouping to Ghana is really Nigeria in this particular case. So we should be mindful, especially. I've seen a statement, I don't know if it's true, that it's coming from the Nigerian High Commission, calling attention to some of these reports, and demanding some circumspection is being done in this area so that we are not seen to be embarking on the South African kind of xenophobic tendencies that is unlike Ghanaian at all. I mean, Kuma will be very sad hearing that.
Yeah, I was just going to
the people of this republic are
I was
acting
just going
that
to
way.
quote Chimamanda Adichie when she said that be careful of the single story. There's no single story about any group of people, so let's not draw conclusions about which kind of people Nigerians or any other nationalities are. Malik, let's come back to Accra because court was quite interesting yesterday.
Yes, court was indeed interesting. Mahama Yarga's case was brought to court yesterday. There was a hearing. There were applications which some were dismissed, some were upheld. One of the first applications which was dismissed was one which was filed by lawyers for Mahama Yarga challenging the capacity of Martin Amidu to bring the charges against Mahama Yarga, Boki Central MP, in court. They had argued in the application that one of the applications, of course, that given that Mr. Martin Amidu had gone past the statutory retirement age of 60, he lacked the capacity to bring the charges that he was, in fact, to sign the charge sheet that he was bringing the charges against Mahama Yarga. We know that matter, of course, is in the Supreme Court. Justice Efia Sewa Sariboche, who presided over this matter yesterday, said, well, I am incapable of ruling on this matter. This is a constitutional matter. The only court which is vested with the power to deal with constitutional matters is the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court. This is a matter which is actually before the Supreme Court. Therefore, I would decline any invitation to overreach and to purport to take a matter such as this and rule on it. So the matter will be dealt with by the Supreme Court. Therefore, Martin Amidu can continue with the processes of prosecuting Mahama Yarga in respect of the charges brought against him. But another application which has been filed by lawyers for Mahama Yarga was upheld, striking out some of the charges brought against Mahama Yarga. And the charges that were struck out were three of them: fraudulent evasion of customs duties and taxes, dealing in foreign exchange without license, and transfer of foreign exchange from Ghana through an authorized dealer. Those are the three charges which were struck out The judge's argument essentially were that, and this was upholding the application filed by Mama Yarga's lawyers, were that these charges were inconsistent with the provisions of the Special Prosecutors Act, which is empowering the special prosecutor to deal mainly with corruption-related offences.
Otherwise, do you fear, sir?
Absolutely. These 3 charges, they contended, do not have anything to do with his mandate, which is corruption-related charges. The court agreed and then struck them out. But there was one other charge which is relating to using his office, public office, for public gain,
for private
gain. That charge still stands, and he will face that. Yesterday, he told the court that he was willing to submit himself. That is because another letter came from the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Aaron Markokwe, to the presiding judge.
A second one.
Absolutely, seeking to assert the limited immunity that the MP has in respect of these proceedings. Again, the court dismissed that and upheld its June 4th ruling on this matter, saying that whenever the MP is required to appear in court, he must do so. Of course, you spoke to Professor Stephen Kokwasari, who said that he did not think that the Ghana Constitution grants any member of Parliament immunity from criminal prosecutions. We do know that a member of Parliament, coincidentally from the same Boko Central, Adamu Damani Sekende, was prosecuted when he was sitting member of Parliament. Where were those immunities that we contend now were available to him? Of course, lawyers for Ayarga say they will appeal the ruling in respect of the matters that the judge said they could go ahead and prosecute him, which is the capacity of Martin Amidu. Yesterday, one of the lawyers spoke to us, and I'm talking about James Agalga, who said they are going to the Supreme Court, or they are going to the Court of Appeal first to appeal that ruling.
Right. Thanks, Malik. We are going to go ahead to talk about the productivity of Ghanaian workers. This conversation has been raging for years.
Yes, but the World Bank is actually rating the Ghanaian workers' productivity in its Human Capital Index report. That particular report, the Human Capital report, we're talking about we rating 44%. Now, we are doing better than the average, Sub-Saharan African, which is really always the case anyway. In the Sub-Saharan African average is 40%, but we are far below what is supposed to be the average for low and middle income countries. That's 48%. What does this really mean? They start from test scores from school, expected test scores. They also actually put it together with the harmonized test and your survival rates between the ages of 5 and 60. In sum, the kind of human resource you are producing in this country is not up to the standards on the average expected of a low to a middle income country. That's the basis for it. And why is this very important? This is very important because not only because we are ranking just above Niger on the 157 country score. So if you take Niger out, we are actually the lowest when it comes to the human capital index in this particular case. Your human resource, which is more important than the mineral resources of any state, and anybody will tell you that, should be producing the systems you want. So far from we, and of course there's reference in this report from the World Bank suggesting that secondary education is perhaps where you prop up the best of your human resource.
Right.
We have some form of education which is free. The interesting part is that the quality perhaps is more important in this case and will contribute more to your capital index than just the application of a no-fee system.
I'm reminded of Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta speaking in the 2019 budget, talking about the reforms that are going to take place within the GRA to improve our tax collection drive. And that was hinged really on the people who are working as the GRA. And I'm wondering what has become of that and what strides we have chalked in that regard. Mr. Ofori-Atta, good morning. You can visit us at any time and let's talk about that. But Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire's cocoa agreement is still in the news, man.
Yes, it's in the news, and there are two economists who are arguing that they think the government of Ghana and the government of Cote d'Ivoire should hesitate, should act slowly when they are dealing with this matter. And the argument essentially is this: the companies that procure the 65% of cocoa that is produced by these two countries, they have alternatives. The alternatives that they can rely on for their chocolate and other products. Because they have access to alternatives, they may call the bluff of these two countries. And if that happens, given that the storage of cocoa is tricky and given that these people can rely on other substitutes, if they decide to call on the bluff of the two countries, what will happen? The two countries will be forced to stockpile the cocoa beans, and if storage is a problem, it will become a problem for the two countries. The other problem is when these countries the two countries start feeling the squeeze in terms of their budgets, in terms of money for their cocoa farmers, it will force them to go back and put these cocoa beans on the market, and that will not bode well for the two countries. The two economists, Professor Peter Korte and Dr. Said Boachi, are arguing that the finance ministry for Ghana, for example, and Cote d'Ivoire must be interested in the processes that these two countries are engaging in relation to cocoa beans, so that there are fallback plans. Of course, the Ghana Cocoa Board chief executive says that there are fallback plans, but these two economists are saying, well, that is good, but the finance ministry has to be following these things keenly and be ensuring that we have backup money, foreign reserve elsewhere, so that if our bluff is called, we can rely on that and not be forced to put the products on the market, because we are demanding $202,600
but I thought that they
per ton.
caved. I mean, the day after the story came out that they caved, but they're going to meet on the 3rd of July to discuss the details of the implementation. So at this point, are we still talking about an ongoing negotiation? That was the announcement that was made. Unless there's something I'm missing.
I think what that story said was that the stakeholders had agreed for the two countries to impose this amount.
Exactly, but they will meet on the 3rd of July to discuss the implementation, and the ban on export still holds until those details of implementation are
so what these two economists are talking about are actually the buyers of the cocoa. Yeah. If those buyers rely on their substitutes and decide that, okay, we are calling your bluff, you can't impose this arbitrary prices on us, so we'll rely on substitutes and not buy, what do you do with your cocoa beans? And you and I had a banter on this matter, that you don't process it, you'll be compelled to stockpile it. And how long can you continue to stockpile your cocoa beans, given that large sectors of your economies rely on the cocoa, the prices, that the money that you earn from cocoa. Usually when the cedi is depreciating, we are looking for the cocoa syndicated loan to try and stabilize it.
I understand the background that you are drawing. My point is that this entire opinion is premised on the fact that the buyers were not part of the stakeholders who agreed to the floor price. How can you agree to a floor price if you are not a buyer?
No, it's the stakeholders.
How can we say that we have agreed to a floor price if we haven't spoken to the buyers? That is what the entire opinion is premised on. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, anyway, it's just a few questions that I have. But wait, let's move on.
Yes, let's go to the voter registration exercise. Right now, the limited voter registration exercise, which is happening only in district offices, actually started yesterday. The finder asked its reporters to be out there going to monitor the process across the cities here in Accra and also in the major towns across the country. Now, it was very smooth in Kumasi, according to the finder. If you go to the voter region it started with no hitches. It was here in Accra that there were some reported problems with the process. At Okaikwe district, for example, even though it started well and turnout was not as good as it's supposed to be, there was some malfunction which was actually recorded along the line. In the Gap West municipality too, there was a similar problem. Even at the EC headquarters, I mean, the problem was not really about systems malfunctioning, but people coming there and not knowing where their district office is. So, for example, if you don't know where in your district the registration is supposed to be happening, you might be confused as to where to go and find the registration. This is for people who have turned 18, not fresh registration. It's for people who have turned 18 and ought to be put on the system. So that's why they've not opened it up to every other person. It was supposed to start on June 7th. It didn't happen. And this was because somebody went to court. Yes, Ayuba went to court and insisted that you have to open it up to every other person
or
to
the
do
electoral areas.
For them to have the registration done in these areas. The only difficulty is that we could going back and forth on these. If we improve our national ID system properly, if you turn 18 automatically, you actually can go for your voter's ID. You don't have to queue up, join all of these things, and have different cards, national health insurance, national whatever, all registering people under different ends, when all of these are provided the same systems required.
In fact, in this limited registration, the EC itself is targeting 700,000 new voters to register. Right. And apart from the 230 district offices where the registrations are supposed to take place, the Electoral Commission has also set up 1,573 centers. These are difficult to access centers where persons who can't move to their district offices because of difficulties can have access and do the registration. The Daily Guide reports that there was a 72-year-old man who registered as a new voter in the process as well.
Okay.
You are shocked. 72.
It's 8 minutes till we hit the top of the hour. Let's go online. And the online news review is brought to you by Zenith Bank, in your best interest in GOIL Good Energy. Make your day productive by relying on quality fuel from GOIL, your 3-time CIMG Petroleum Company of the Year. GOIL Super XP and Diesel XP are additivated to enhance strong engine performance and prolong the lifespan of your vehicle. Above all, you are guaranteed extra quality with our fuel analyzer from our mobile laboratory van. Get your money's worth every day by buying fuel and lubricants from any of GOIL's over 360 service stations nationwide and experience good energy. Buy GOIL, Grow Ghana. GOIL Good Energy, GOIL Yenara Yedia. Now, when it comes to traveling with ease and comfort, Zenith Bank's wide array of MasterCard and Visa cards will help you do just that. You can conveniently use your Zenith MasterCard and Visa cards at over 33 million Visa and MasterCard branded ATMs worldwide. On the internet for online payments and purchases, in-shop for payments of goods and services, at all Zenith Bank ATMs, and on local and international POS or retail outlets that accepts Visa and MasterCard. Sign up today, or if you already have one, use the Zenith MasterCard and Visa cards for a great travel experience. Go light with Zenith Bank. It's faster and smarter. Zenith Bank, in your best interest. Guys, did you hear Mohamed Morsi dying in court?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sad story for
Very
the Egyptian
sad.
former Egyptian president,
Exactly.
who was removed under very, as a coup d'etat by Al-Sisi after he won the.
And the nation has never been the same since Al Sisi took over.
Absolutely.
Can someone say? Can someone hear
And
Sudan
there's another
speaking?
sad death on the back page of the graphic. If I may just, this is a bridegroom who died at his wedding, and he's been living with his wife, his girlfriend. They had 2 children. They decided to do a wedding. At the wedding event, they went to dance, and after the dancing, he went to sit down, and then he held his stomach,
And that was it.
This is at Asum Joasu in the central region, and
Sad
then they
one
rushed
there.
him to the hospital, the St. Francis Xavier Hospital at Asin Fusu,
Yeah.
where he was pronounced dead.
Sad one there. May his soul rest in peace. NSMQ 2019 watch the 3 schools that scored 0. Problem of the day. That's unfortunate. Volgatanga SHS, Laura SHS, and Assignment SHS. But they've done well. To come so far in the competition, they qualified through their regional contests, and they've gotten to this stage. Congratulations to them. Better luck next
Yeah,
year.
they beat a lot of schools to get here,
They
actually.
beat a lot of schools to get here. Congratulations to them. Better luck next year. AdumaOnline.com has a man arrested for allegedly stealing PDS fuses. The BBC.com, countries paying too much for essential drugs. Guess which country is number 2 here? Our beloved country.
Yes.
Should you leave the room when you cough or sneeze? Well, ask Donald Trump. That's on the BBC.com. We're going to take just a few messages. We'll be right back. Stay with us.